time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 175 of the Ron and Brian podcast. I am Ron, joined by a man that some people say has a magnetic personality. Brian, how are you this Sunday evening?
Doing splendid. This has been a week of emotional highs, emotional lows. I have been tested. I have been stressed. I have been rewarded. I have succeeded. I have overcome. I have basically been challenged at every level, personal, professional. I was hoping you were going to cut me off at some point. I was fucking running out of shit. Ron, I'm doing great. I'm trying to get hydrated right here. Next level, hydrogen water. I believe you may also be rocking the same type of water.
Yes.
I'm ready to take on this show. This is episode 175.
Who would have thought it? More than almost 3.5 years ago, when we actually, it was 3.5 years when we even thought of the concept, and then 2 months later it came to fruition, and here we are, episode 175.
They said we couldn't do it. They said it could not be done. They said we could never stay on the same page, that our personalities would conflict. We would butt heads. You would threaten to start a new show with someone else. They said that you would never relinquish the 51% majority stake in the show. No, you did. That's why this is like the postseason.
It is. And we are ready to dominate and be the champions that we are. So let's get things rolling with our drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Crunch it. Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian, what are you drinking this week?
I'm a week late, Ron. I'm a week late. A week ago, I should have been having this drink. This is from our friends of the podcast. This is Mayflower Brewing Company. They're shipped over a couple of Love and Wrestling, which is not only an IPA, but check this one out. It's actually a double dry hop New England double IPA.
Wow, that looks
nice. You know how much I'm tired and sick of IPAs. It's actually a double dry hop New England IPA bursting with flavor. Hefty amounts of wheat and oats make for a creamy first sip, while big dry hop additions of Citra and Amarillo contribute notes of orange, lime, pine, grapefruit, and a kiss of cantaloupe and honeydew melon. Coming in at 8% ABV, score of 88 on Beer Advocate. Brian's knocking out this beer. I don't.
Is it because we were drinking yesterday, or is it just it's a mouthy?
No, I'm just tired of hops. I'm tired of fucking just way too many hops in my beer. I'm going, just for people who listeners, people who love the show know that I'm going through my beer fridge. I'm going through the back. I'm pulling out IPAs. I'm emptying it out, and then I will get an order of lagers, pilsners, sours, Belgium ales, Belgium style blonde ale.
But this time's gotta stop.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. All right. Well, I hope
Ron,
when you get future beers in, you enjoy them more.
What are you drinking?
So I went a little crazy yesterday. So nursing a bit of a hangover. So I went a little bit lighter today. This is from Dogfish Head Brewery. This is their Slightly Mighty Locale IPA, which is brewed with mighty aromatic hop varieties that deliver tropical notes with a slightly sweet balance provided by the monk fruit extract. Just 95 calories, 3.6 carbs, and 4%. This is a easy drinking beer, very crushable.
Well, this is the time of year where you put away your crushable beers because you're hoping and expecting to be able to knock out some heavier stouts.
That's true, but since it was 80 degrees today, I felt this was applicable. And of course, as you said, we are also hitting our next level hydrogen water. This is the collector's series Manny Pacquiao can of the next level hydrogen water. Of course, giving you your quad C's, giving you those colloidal metals that you can't get anywhere else. I got to tell you, I was a bit hungover. I was a bit run down earlier, but I put down a few cans of the next level hydrogen water, and it has refreshed me. It has revitalized me, and I am ready to do this podcast.
Now, if people wanted to go out and buy some of this next level hydrogen water, how would you recommend they do so?
I would say you go to our Instagram page, look at the link in our bio, and you will see our affiliate link there for the hydrogen water. We may get a little taste. We might dip our beak a bit, get our beak wet, as they say, but no better way to support yourself and support the Ron and Brian podcast by buying some next level hydrogen water. In the meantime, water ice. In the meantime, let's roll over into This Week in Racism.
This
Week
in
racism.
racism.
Oh, Brian, so much racism this week. I had to shrink the font down to a 10 just to keep it to 2 pages. I will attempt to keep this under 10 minutes. Our official timekeeper is not with us here this evening, but let's see what we can do. We've got a photo to start off This Week in Racism. This is from Canada. An alternate jersey released by the Western Hockey League's Prince Albert Raiders has been discontinued due to its offensive logo a day after being unveiled online. The uniform, featuring an old Raiders design, was met with immediate backlash after being announced on the club's Twitter account on Friday night with the caption, "Throwing it back for our thirds." For those of you not watching the video, there is a gentleman that would appear to be of Middle Eastern descent with a turban and a sword. Yes, some people felt that was a tad bit insensitive, racist. So yeah, they have taken that away. Moving on, a high school student in Kansas City has sparked outrage with his vehemently racist homecoming proposal that went viral on social media. As part of the proposal, the boy presented the girl last week with a banner that read, quote, "If I was black, I would be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you for homecoming." Cotton balls were also plastered to the sign, which had boxes for the girl to check either yes or no. The girl's mother, Rhonda Windholz, defended her daughter, saying that she was just caught up in the excitement of homecoming, but also said, quote, "Please know that we have diversity in our own family and believe that all lives matter." 9 New York City firefighters have been suspended after an investigation found that they were sharing several racist messages and memes on their phones. Fire Department Commissioner Daniel Nigro said the department's investigation began after multiple black firefighters issued complaints about the messages. The New York Times reports that the messages black firefighters drew attention to includes ones that mocked the murder of George Floyd in 2020 and memes about how police officers can legally shoot black children. The 9 firefighters were suspended without pay for periods ranging from days to 6 months as a result. The U.S. EEOC is suing SkillsSkin for allegedly retaliating against a black employee who complained about racism in the workplace. SkillsSkin is a nonprofit organization that hires workers for contract and government jobs in Wyoming, Washington, and Montana. According to the lawsuit, Brian Wheels was called racial slurs while working at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. When Wheels complained about the racially offensive statements, SkillsSkin assigned him to work directly with the coworker and supervisor who were harassing him. SkillsSkin continued to ignore Wheels' complaints and then fired him despite his multiple years of service while retaining a white employee hired only 3 months earlier. HC Kremenchuk forward Andrei Deniskin is facing disciplinary action from the Ukrainian Hockey League after making a racist gesture toward American-born defensiveman Jalen Smerik of HC Donbass, who is black. In the second period of their game last week, Deniskins shouted at Smurek and then pantomimed unpeeling a banana and eating it. He was ejected from the game. The UHL said that disciplinary proceedings will be opened against Deniskin, adding that his behavior, quote, is unacceptable within the framework of a civilized society. A white woman has been fired from her job after being caught on video harassing a black couple at a dog park in the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn last week, telling them to stay in your hood. The unnamed woman confronted Frederick Joseph and his fiancee Porsche Landon, saying, "You're not from around here. Go back to your hood. Stay in your hood. And you people shouldn't even be here." Derek Anderson, the CEO of Bevy, believed to be the woman's employer, offered an apology to the couple and said on Twitter, "Yesterday, an employee engaged in behavior contrary to our values and has been terminated." A black product manager at Google said he was riding his bike around the tech giant's campus when he was approached by security. According to Angel Anawa's September 20th tweet, someone there apparently didn't believe he was an employee. And then in a September 22nd tweet following up on the incident, Anawa said his badge was taken away from him after he was forced to miss his bus home sorting out the situation. A Google spokesperson has said they are looking into a way to resolve the issue. A FedEx driver is out of a job after posting a profanity-laden TikTok saying he would refuse to deliver packages to supporters of President Biden or Black Lives Matter. Vincent Paterno uploaded the now viral video showing him in his FedEx uniform on September 16th. Quote, "What's up, TikTok? Just wanted to come on here and let you all know if you have a Joe Biden, Kamala fucking camel toe posted up in front of your house, Black Lives Matter, I will not deliver your shit," he said. Paterno insists he wasn't fired because of the video, saying that he'd already told his boss he was quitting back in August and his last day was a week before he posted the original footage. UMass Amherst has launched an investigation into the origins of a racist email sent to black student organizations on campus. The email, which was sent by a group calling themselves UMass Coalition for a Better Society, read in part, quote, "We look down upon you. We instantly know in all manners from your language, which most of you still speak in some broken form of Ebonics or to ghetto speak, to where you're from, third world sewers in America, bought and paid for by the U.S. taxpayer, to how you live, like hood rats, to how you appear, fro hair, big lips, black skin, you are different." In addition to UMass Amherst hiring a national cybersecurity firm, UMass Amherst Police Department and the university's IT department are also looking into the source of the email. Federal investigators and fire officials are looking into a possible arson fire at a century-old church in Portland, Maine, which had a Black Lives Matter sign hanging out in front. It appeared to be set in an area where the sign had been posted, according to the church pastor and building manager. The sign, which had been displayed outside the church for at least a year, was later found by investigators in bushes near the church. Last week, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights determined that the Brooklyn Center Police Department and Michael's Stores Incorporated racially discriminated against a teenager who went to the craft store looking for work in 2019. It also found that police used an excessive amount of force. The department is seeking, quote, structural change through a settlement with both Michaels and the police department and monetary relief for the teen. The Martinez family of Virginia Beach have been harassed by their neighbor over the past 5 years, with him playing loud music, monkey sounds, skits with racial slurs, and using bright blinking lights. The family called the police about the lights and noise, but officers told them there was nothing they can do because the behavior is not considered criminally actionable. Alberto Friedman, a professor at the National University of Health Sciences, has resigned after being charged with multiple felonies for allegedly yelling racial slurs and spitting on a black woman with her child outside of a grocery store. The woman and her 7-year-old daughter were in a parked car just after 4:30 p.m., waiting for her mother to finish shopping when she heard honking and yelling behind her. After exiting his car, Friedman is accused of yelling slurs at the victim and her daughter. When the victim attempted to open her own door, Friedman allegedly slammed her door shut and spit in her face, telling her he spit, quote, because he does not like black people. And a Massachusetts high school football game ended after a brawl over racial slurs. Georgetown Middle High School, with a student body that is 93% white, was playing Roxbury Prep High School, where 97% of the students are either black or Latino. referees canceled the game after a fight between players, which Roxbury coach Willie McGinnis said was a result of Georgetown players using racial slurs towards his players throughout the game. The Georgetown School District has announced they will be bringing in an independent third party to investigate the incident. And before we wrap up, we've got one story in Racism Rewind.
Racism Rewind.
And finally, officials announced Thursday that a Rochester, New York police officer faces departmental charges in the case of Daniel Prude, a black man who died following his arrest last March. Officer Mark Vaughn was charged with excessive use of force and unprofessional behavior. The charges are the first in the Prude case. Following the department's internal investigation, Vaughn was one of 7 officers suspended with pay last year in the Prude case. And that, Brian, is this week in racism.
Just sad, a sad amount of racism, Ronald.
It was a rough week. It's a rough week to say the least. All right, what else can you say? But time for beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
My beer refrigerator.
Really? And why is that?
Earlier today, I went into my beer fridge to go through a selection of some of the beers that I had to choose from for tonight's episode. And I realized that I had several beers that were towards the back of the beer fridge that have all frozen.
Oh, that is not good.
So there were several beers that I would have taken before this Love and Wrestling. I mean, I think we can all agree that I have zero interest in a double hopped IPA.
Yeah, your life, yes.
I mean, no offense, but look at this sludge. Look at this color. Fuck am I supposed to drink this? It's like you can't even see me through it. And it was just, I was very disappointed to see all these beers that had frozen. And once a beer is frozen, the water is separated from the contents. It's never good. It doesn't go back. So I had to dump several. A little upset. That is my beef of the week. Ron, as you enjoy your not frozen beer,
yes,
what's bothering you?
So my beef this week, Brian, is with a company called Macaron. And do you know what they sell, Brian?
Macaroons.
Macaroons, exactly. So I saw this ad on Facebook, and I've seen it before. You know, I'm a macaroon connoisseur at times, and they had like a special Halloween pack of macaroons they were selling. They had Butterfinger macaroons and Snickers and a few other themed ones, marshmallow, and I was like, you know what? Let's treat the household. Let's get
treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Sorry.
And I think today might be Treat Yourself Day. I think October 3rd is actually officially Treat Yourself Day.
Really? Okay.
Really. But again, so ordered these macaroons, and they come in. We get them this weekend. Pop them open and try a couple of them, and they just all taste the same, which is no taste whatsoever. Just a generic sweet macaroon taste. So again, I mean, you know, no truth in advertising. And I love Butterfingers. I think it might be my favorite candy. But they did them wrong. They did them wrong.
The thing I like about the Butterfinger candy bar is that it's one of the few candy bars that you are still pulling out of your teeth 4 hours after you've eaten a Butterfinger.
Right.
It is the candy that keeps on giving.
It's it's definitely it's in that like bit of honey realm. Like bit of honey you have for Halloween, and you still have it in your teeth the following Halloween.
I don't think I've ever had one of those.
No, you've never had a bit of honey? I might have to hook you up with that.
Don't believe so. Speaking of Halloween,
yes.
Impressive display in front of your home.
Thank you very much. I keep meaning to put the video of our display up on the Instagram page, so maybe I will do that following the podcast tonight. But yeah, we've got an inflatable out there. We've got a lot of lights. We've got some projectors. We've got some clowns hanging from the second floor. So yeah, I mean, we're ready for the holiday, Brian.
Now, how will you be celebrating the actual day of Halloween?
The Halloween is my wedding anniversary, so I still need to figure out how exactly we are celebrating that weekend.
Have you spoken to the wife? I mean, if I remember correctly, last week it was brought to our attention that the last Sunday of the month, which we set aside as our pajama party with our patrons, where we invite our patrons to come on the show with us. Last week we had an incredible, not to go into a sidebar, but an incredible Patreon pajama party where the monthly Can You Beat Ron theme of it was 1980 movie soundtrack songs. And we had three challengers, all looking to collect the $25 Ron and Brian podcast donation to the charity of their choice. Ron, again, proving that he cannot be beat on these things. A slim margin of victory here. If I am correct, you won by 1 point.
I did defeat my closest opponent by 1 point. I would say a few additional points for the other people competing that night.
Meaning
the other two, I don't think we're even close to challenging me.
Oh yeah. No. There was definitely a bifurcation in terms of the standings. However, we noticed that. Thank you very much. We noticed that the last Sunday is on Halloween, which you pointed out is your anniversary.
I will need to have that discussion with the missus and see how we will be handling Halloween.
I would also like to throw out there the possibility. Why doesn't she come on the show with us?
I would say that's something that she probably has little to no interest in.
What if we recreate our was the Honeymooners Club? Well, Newlywed Game.
We could certainly look into that, potentially doing that. What else? So what do we have this week, Brian? We've gotten our beef aired. We've talked about the racism. We've got our drink set. What was big this past week?
Big past week was CDC Chair, Infectious Disease Jude Anthony Tony Fauci announcing that he believes that we have in the United States turned the corner on the latest COVID wave, that we have been held hostage by the Delta variant. However, Fauci now announcing we have turned the corner on the Delta wave. He warns it's possible there are more surges in the future as the disease continues to mutate into other variants. However, he sees, in terms of the current wave that has struck a lot of the rural America and the unvaccinated, numbers seem to be absolutely going in the correct trajectory, which is downwards. Fewer people testing positive, fewer people dying, fewer people requiring hospitalizations. So that's a good sign. Maybe I think the future is not as bleak as I was believing it was going to be.
Let us hope. So we did pass a milestone this past week in the United States. We crossed the 700,000 death mark from COVID-19.
Did you say 700,000 death?
Yes. Actually, we're up.
So I should not be clapping.
You should not. That would be bad to clap.
This is not something to celebrate.
This is not something to celebrate at this particular time. Actually,
can we edit? Ron, can we? Ron, can we edit out the part where I was just clapping?
I'll
put in post.
I'll put a note.
It's a little embarrassing that I was clapping as we were talking about 700,000 Americans that have died.
716,847.
Approximately.
Approximately. We are the country with the highest number of deaths worldwide. Coming in number 2, Brazil, at a hefty 596,800, and third, India with 448,372. overall,
That
we're
is a pretty
pushing
high
four-
number.
We're pushing
That is a
4.8
pretty
million.
high number.
Yes,
That's a pretty
4.8
high
million
number
worldwide.
for India. We're just going to keep talking over each other.
Yeah. Why not?
Ron, as a percentage of the total population, how do we compare to Brazil and India?
India has a lower percentage per population.
Okay.
Brazil actually has a higher percentage per population. So
Got it.
kind of right in the middle there.
Okay. All right. Good. I just want to make sure nobody is better at anything than America. We're the best.
I mean, we do attempt to be the best in the world, and this is something we are the best at.
We are absolutely the best at it, and it's something for us to be proud of.
Speaking of the coronavirus, last week, the United States announced that it would soon open its doors to foreign travelers that were vaccinated against the coronavirus, set to take place in November. However, with one notable exception, those millions of people who have received 2 doses of Russia's Sputnik 5 vaccine. They are left off the list. So anyone from Russia that has taken that vaccine will not be allowed into the country still.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So even the government is now stepping in to acknowledge that is not really a vaccine.
I mean, it's they're not saying it's quite in the Johnson & Johnson realm, but they're not going to give it the rub to allow people into the country.
I'm okay with that. I am absolutely okay with that. It's a garbage vaccine, and I think you and I both can agree. Moderna is the gold standard of COVID vaccines.
Yes. And then this report came out this week, a study, I should say, one of the largest studies of long COVID effects that has been undertaken so far by the University of Oxford. They analyzed the health records of almost 274,000 American COVID-19 survivors. And what they have found is that 37% of COVID-19 patients have at least one symptom up to 6 months after the infection. So we've heard different stories about this, the long haul COVID and how people are suffering from it. It's a big number. And
now, as a COVID survivor, as somebody who was stricken with this awful disease, I can attest that one of the symptoms that lingered in my body for, I would say, a good 12 to 18 months after my onset of symptoms was having an enlarged genitalia. My sac became ungodly in terms of size. It's only recently I've been able to sit down.
Valid question. Just jumping back to the Sputnik 5 story, Billy asking if Sputnik recipients are allowed to listen to this podcast. They were never considered amongst the elite, let's say. And obviously, we are continuing to broadcast in full 5G Fauci vision.
We are safe.
That was
we are protected.
That was one of the caveats when we signed that contract, is they said we don't fuck with Sputnik 5. All right, fair enough. We will go with
garbage, trash.
So people still suffering from symptoms many months after the fact. A lot of them were fatigue, headache. What else was there here? I'm just kind of poking through. Anxiety, depression. Across the board, symptoms were anywhere from 44 to 104% higher among those who had the disease versus people that had never contracted COVID.
So they're saying that people who had COVID are more likely to be anxious or depressed?
To suffer it as a long-term effect, yes.
What if we had it before? Can we attribute it to COVID now?
I mean, I think you could probably, say whatever you'd like.
I would like to see there being some type of benefits being offered to people who were stricken in the first wave of COVID. People who did not know how to safely protect themselves. I think those people need to be protected, to be taken care of, to receive a monetary check from the government.
So you want
second wave.
You want a bit of a rub, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Second wave people, no excuse. You knew exactly what was going on. You chose to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with families, traveling, going outside of your immediate pod, killing granny with your germs so you could eat some dry, overcooked turkey. Third wave, sorry, those are the people that refused to get vaccinated, that lived in the Midwest, the South, who were like, fuck you. You're going to have to pry, my hand off of this ventilator because I need the oxygen to breathe. And I'm going to keep my guns. And they took our germs. Those were the people that really were the ones for the third wave. Who's going to be fourth wave? I don't know. But I do believe that much like we are taking care of our first line responders, we need to take care of our first line COVID victims. Those people should be compensated pain and suffering.
Fair enough. You know who will not be caught up in the next wave of COVID cases, Brian?
Hold on a second. I'm going to take a guess, and I'm going to say Ronald Reagan.
It would be our dead anti-vaxxers of the week.
Dead anti-vaxxer of the week.
Brian, who are you bringing to the table as your dead anti-vaxxer of the week?
Have you heard of Michael and Karina Pitcher?
You mean this couple right here?
Oh, they look so vibrant, so healthy, so American. The wraparound shades, the Karen haircut. These two, they are what makes America great. Unfortunately, they are not here to continue to show us how great America is. Unfortunately, in September, Michael Pitcher and his wife, Karina Simonson Pitcher, both died of COVID. Michael on September 27th, Karina on September 10th. Sadly, they both worked in healthcare in Florida. Michael owned a primary care clinic, and Karina was an advanced registered nurse practitioner with a doctoral degree from the University of Florida. Michael leaves behind 2 children and 5 stepchildren from 3 marriages, and Carrie leaves behind her daughter. They both had become very loud voices in the anti-vaxxer movement on social media, posting multiple times about how this disease was not something to be taken seriously, how there were no likely any more cases due to this than there was the regular flu. And this was not something to be taken seriously by, active on social media. Unfortunately, in mid-August, Michael's friend Scott Austin posted, "Prayers requested for my friend Mike. He and his wife are in the hospital on ventilators, fighting for their lives." Unfortunately, they did not make it. If only they could go back in time and get vaccinated, I believe that both Michael and Karina would still be here.
Oh, well, that is, you are bringing a double shot of sadness to the podcast with your dead anti-vaxxers of the week. If I may bring a candidate of my own, this handsome gentleman right here with the engaging eyebrows. This is Warren Honeycutt, age 67. He was a fitness guru. He had competed in Mr. America, has his own fitness company, Get Honeycutt Incorporated, where he sells books and videos teaching us how to be fit and live better. However, he was a vigilant anti-vaxxer, posting multiple times daily memes downplaying the pandemic, railing against vaccines, looking down his nose at the CDC, threatening people that would even suggest that he might get vaccinated, even after a relative of his passed away from COVID. Well, this ended up with him passing away on the last day of September at the age of 67 from COVID. But yet, not a surprise.
No, and sad. Just fucking sad.
Very much so. Very much. And those are our dead anti-vaxxers of the week.
Dead anti-vaxxer of the week.
Well, I got to say,
sad bit. That's a sad bit, and it gets worse every week.
If there's anyone that had a week maybe worse than those anti-vaxxers, probably has to be R. Kelly, who was found guilty by a jury last week on all 9 federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges that he was facing. He now faces anywhere from 10 years, which is the mandatory minimum, to life in prison for the charges related to nearly 30 years worth of allegations that he physically and sexually abused women and minors.
I'm fighting for my life.
This was an extremely long trial. It was 5 weeks of testimony from 50 witnesses. Only took 2 days of jury deliberation to find R. Kelly guilty on 1 count of racketeering and then 8 accounts of violating the Mann Act, which is aimed at curbing sex trafficking. He still faces additional federal charges of sexual assault and abuse in Illinois. So he will be back in court. But looking at the very strong possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison.
Wow.
And according to his lawyer, R. Kelly was not anticipating this verdict.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they say?
He just said that his client was not anticipating the verdict. He clearly felt, even after all these witnesses, 45 of them for the prosecution, only 5 for the defense, that he was going to be found not guilty, and that was not the case.
I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. And when I say he, I'm not talking about R. Kelly. I'm talking about his cellmate, because I'm going to tell you that guy is going to get a lot of, hey, did you get pissed on last night? a lot of references about peeing. Famous Chappelle Show skit, where he did the R. Kelly cover, or whatever you want to call it. Listen, oddly enough, R. Kelly did get some support in the press this week after the verdict, when American comedian and somewhat maligned public figure Bill Cosby stepped up to say that he felt that R. Kelly had been railroaded by the system and was not given a fair opportunity to defend himself in court.
And if there is a man who knows how unjust that court system can be, I suppose it is one Dr. William H. Cosby.
Resident of Philadelphia?
Yes, somewhere in the suburbs, I believe. That way, about 4 blocks. Very embarrassing. Another.
Do we know if he's actually in your neighborhood, or is he still traveling around?
I think he's still traveling around. Usually, when he's in the neighborhood, all of the news copters are flying around overhead. So the fact that we are copter free usually is a pretty good sign.
But there were helicopters this past weekend, as the word leaked out to the American media that Ron and Brian were no longer in 2 separate states, but actually had combined to cross streams. And we were invitees at the first official Jarty wedding ceremony.
Yes, our good friends of the podcast.
Friends
Marty
of the
and
podcast.
John, tied the knot yesterday. We were fortunate enough to be amongst the friends and family that gathered to celebrate their union. We do apologize for the paparazzi that showed up when they found out that Ron and Brian were there. But just a great day, great party, beautiful bride, handsome groom. Love was in the air. And a good time was had by all.
Yes. Let's talk about the food.
Okay.
How good was the food? First off, there was just trays of it, never ending.
Yep.
Brisket, more brisket than you can eat. Sausage, regular, spicy. Lots of salads, heroes, or as you prefer to call them, hoagies.
Yes. Philly soft pretzels, always a good
yes.
Always
with two different types. And this is when you know you're at a classy event, because there were two types of mustard for people to choose for what they were going to dip their soft pretzels into. And
the genius move of the night, in addition to obviously having a traditional wedding cake there, the sweet table was Yum Yum Donuts, which if you have a Yum Yum Donuts nearby and you haven't gone yet, you need to do so. Just pile.
How many donuts would you say you had?
I'm going to put it around 4 or 5. It gets to be a blur after a while.
I'm going to say that I had. Oh, there's a couple of Yum Yum Donuts in the city.
There you go.
Oh no, those are just regular donut shops. God damn it. Yeah. So I think that I had 4. I counted it. I had a powdered sugar jelly.
Okay.
I had another jelly donut which had the frosting on top.
Okay.
Oh. Then I remember I had a chocolate frosted donut, and I'm sure I had one more, but I cannot remember what it was. I was drinking Founders IPA the whole night. Never got to the point where I was embarrassing myself, though I do believe I said some things in front of minors that would probably have caused their parents to cringe. At one point, I do recall I was trying to strike up interest in a baby fight club.
You were?
Because there were a lot of children under the age of 3 that were there running around. There also was a penned-in area in the backyard that would have been perfect. It would have been a 1987 style cage match in the WWE. If you recall, when they started just doing the very large slatted cage where there was no roof to the ceiling.
Correct.
You could easily just climb over it. I remember Andre the Giant fighting in one of them.
Probably.
I don't know why.
So yes,
but I was hoping for a baby fight club. It did not materialize. I was disappointed.
Could not make that happen. But of course, much love going out to Marty and John, and wishes for a long and happy future. Where John and Marty will be on Friday, October 22nd.
Your home.
They will be along with Mr. Dave Hill live in Elkins Park that Friday night. This is now an outdoor show. Again, we have, even though
Dress warmly,
we have turned the corner, we are still playing it safe. This will now be an outdoor show. We'll be outside on the patio. And if you haven't gotten tickets yet, please either reach out to us or go to the link in our bio on our Instagram page. This event will sell out. We will be at capacity. We are getting close to standing room only. It is only $20 a ticket, and you are guaranteed an evening of entertainment, laughter, and probably a little bit of love too. Do you know, today is actually it was 12 years ago today that I met.
It was 12 years ago today
that I met Dave Hill in person for the first time.
So you met Dave Hill 12 years ago?
I did. It was I went to, so we are, and this kind of all ties together. So this upcoming Thursday night, we will be attending stand up at Broken Goblet Brewing in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. we will be seeing comedian Zane Lamprey. Zane Lamprey, formerly of the show Three Sheets on Mojo. And I actually attended 12 years ago a Zane Lamprey party in New York City that Dave Hill attended. I actually have a photo, Brian. This may interest you. It may not. Either way, I'm going to put it
Holy
up.
cow, you actually have a photo ready?
So this is a photo of a young Dave Hill and a much larger Ron 12 years ago.
Where was this taken?
So I'm trying to think. So this was all I remember. It was a building that was next to the Scores on the east side.
Wow. Okay.
So this was a little party Zane Lamprey had thrown called Zane Toberfest.
Okay.
And I think I might have been my heaviest ever then.
It looks like you were a little inebriated.
Well, there was, if you can see the steins in our hands, I had probably 3 or 4 of those that day.
Wow.
It was a long day. It was, I'm still not sure how I got back on a train and got back to Pennsylvania, but it was a good time. And it will also be a good time if you come out to Elkins Park on Friday, October 22nd. So mark it down. Reach out to us for tickets if you have not already.
You must. It is a fully vaccinated show. You
It
must
is, yes.
have, even though we're doing it outside, just because we care about Fauci vision. 5G Fauci vision only works for the podcast. It does not work in the actual physical realm. Therefore, anybody attending this event, we are going to be requiring that you be fully vaccinated. I personally am taking on the responsibility of checking everybody's ID card along with their proof of vaccination. I'm not afraid to send people away. If I must, I will stab someone.
All right. Moving on.
Oh, okay. So that's where I lost you.
Yeah,
when I
that's
joked about stabbing someone. That was when it was just too much for Ron. Okay.
Too much, just too much. So just one celebrity obituary that we were going to point out this week. Tommy Kirk, former child actor, passing away at the age of 79 in his Las Vegas home. Got his big break with his starring role in the 1957 Disney classic Old Yeller. Also did Swiss Family Robinson, The Misadventures of Merlin Jones, Son of Flubber, and The Shaggy Dog. Interestingly enough, fired from Disney in 1964 at the age of 21 when they discovered that he was in a same-sex relationship with a 15-year-old boy. But
did you say 15, like 1-5?
1-5, yes. In 2006,
that's not
he was
okay.
named a Disney legend to honor extraordinary contributions to the Walt Disney Company. But obviously, Old Yeller being the biggest film that he ever did. He was the boy that had to take Old Yeller out behind the shed and shoot him because of the rabies.
Oh, and he's the guy?
He's the kid.
Oh, that's problematic that they would just ignore the relationship with a 15-year-old.
Well, that was prior to him starring in that movie. That was when he was much younger at that point.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, he was. He did the movie in when he was like I think 12 or 13. This was later on, 8 or 9 years later. Brian,
now it makes sense.
Do you cry when you watch Old Yeller?
I've never seen Old Yeller.
You've never seen Old Yeller?
Never seen Old Yeller.
All right, I don't know. You know what? We may have to watch that because I'm not sure if it holds up or not. We may have to check that one out. Can you say, is there a movie or TV show in your past that will guarantee make you cry?
No.
None.
Hold on. I spoke too soon.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to tell you 2 different movies.
Okay.
One is the movie where I actually cried on, and the other one is the movie where I have to fight back the urge to cry.
Okay.
I feel the urge to cry. I fight back the tears. Holding on to these tears. When I was a kid, I cried during E.T.
Interesting.
When
I will say this. I did as well.
When E.T. dies, or they make you believe E.T.'s dying.
Spoiler alert.
I remember crying like a baby next to my mom and trying not to make it obvious that I was crying like a baby. I was crying like a baby because I thought that E.T. died. I was in the movie theaters. Then the other scene that makes me fight back the tears is Braveheart.
Interesting.
In the last few scenes when he's being tortured to death in front of the public, and
Spoiler
as
alert.
he's good point. And then as he's being drawn and quartered and cut open and he's being disemboweled and whatnot, he looks out into the crowd and he sees the woman that he married in the beginning of the movie, who is immediately killed.
Spoiler alert.
Walking in the back of the crowd, smiling at him, almost saying, "It's okay for you to die now. Come be with me." And he looks up into the sky and you can see him dying. That movie, I can actually feel like my eyes start to, the process starting, and I sit and I just push it down. I just push down the emotion.
Huck them away inside. I get you.
Yes.
I gotta go with Billy here. This was one of the ones that I was going to mention when I was a kid. Snoopy Come Home. I don't think they even. It's such a depressing one that I don't think they even show this one anymore. It's
what the heck is Snoopy Come Home?
So Snoopy Come Home basically is, Snoopy was adopted. Charlie Brown adopted him from the Daisy Hill puppy farm, and I forget how exactly Charlie Brown finds out about his Snoopy's original owner. But the original owner was this little girl who had leukemia, I want to say. And so Snoopy felt that, he should go live with his original owner. And so then there's a whole thing where he leaves Charlie Brown and they have a going away party for him.
This sounds vaguely familiar. This sounds vaguely familiar.
When I was a kid, I would kind of like you did with E.T., I would straight up bawl. It just was to the point my mother was like, "Why do you watch this when it's on every year?" And it's like, I just want to feel, mother. I just want to feel.
Yeah.
But that one always gets me. I don't think I could watch that today and not cry.
Wow.
We may have to hunt that down. We'll hunt that up, and you and I can have a little watch party. Maybe we'll put that up on the YouTube channel.
You mean Patreon?
Possibly.
Listen, I think that what we have to, you and I have poorly advertised our Patreon. There are people watching right now. There are people listening to the show right now who are not contributing money to the podcast. And I feel that it's something, it's in a small, insignificant manner financially. They can help this show in a significant financially manner with just a recurring contribution to help you and I offset the costs of this show.
Just go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner of the website, and it'll tell you how to get become a Patreon, become a supporter, and get all the access to After Dark and the swag and everything else. And if you want to figure out a way to pay for that Patreon, well, all you have to do is just listen to us when it is time for our NFL locks of the week. Brian, kudos to you, my friend. You said, you're like, you know what? It's going to be a hell of a week to be a New Yorker. You said not only will the New York Yankees clinch a wild card spot in the playoffs, you said this is the time to go with both New York football teams. The New York Football Giants were 6.5-point underdogs against the New Orleans Saints. They win in overtime, 27-21. New York Jets, 7-point underdogs to the Tennessee Titans. They win in overtime, 27-24, making you again perfect on the season. So kudos.
Yeah, Ron, the only thing making it less impressive is that you also went 2-0 in week 4 of the NFL season this year. You saw the Chiefs playing against Philadelphia Eagles, Chiefs laying 8.5 points. You looked at it and you said, that is silly, Charlie Brown. Chiefs are absolutely going to crush the Eagles, definitely cover. Chiefs winning 42-30. Then in the Sunday night game, Bucks laying 3 over the Patriots. You looked at that game and said, that is one of the easiest games of the year. This is my lock of the year. You won that handily, going 2-0 during week 4. Ron, you are now 8-0 for the season. How do you do it?
I mean, it's just research and knowledge and a little bit of luck sometimes. A little bit.
I think you are underselling the one thing that I think you are bringing to the table, which is skill, determination, knowledge, confidence.
So, Brian, more importantly, what are your upcoming locks of the week for week 5 of the NFL season?
Week 5, Broncos playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers looked woeful this week against the Packers. Broncos easily going to cover 2 points. I have that line. Then I've got the Chiefs -4 over the Bills. Chiefs had a great week this week. They're going to do better next week. Buffalo will be going into Kansas City and will be walking away losers. Those are my locks for the week. Ron, what do you got?
All right. Well, I am taking Carolina. They've got that Eagles team, which defense isn't that good. Carolina is a 4-point favorite. I'm taking Carolina minus the points. And then the Cowboys might be the best team in the NFC East. They have a division matchup against those New York Giants getting their first win. But I like the Cowboys -8. As always, bet with your head, not over it. What else do we have this week, Brian?
Ron, what are you watching?
So I started watching a series called Midnight Mass, kind of a horror supernatural type thing. I'm 3 episodes into it, so it's about this small fishing island in the Northeast. I want to say Massachusetts, New England somewhere, let's say, and supernatural occurrences that are taking place on the island. So it's a very slow build. You do get a reveal towards the end of episode 3 to kind of give you a little bit better idea as to what's going on. But I would recommend you check it out. And I also caught the first episode of Jon Stewart's new show on Apple Plus, The Problem with Jon Stewart.
Now I have a question. Are you paying for Apple Plus?
I am, yes.
Okay, so am I.
And that's primarily because I just keep forgetting to cancel after. It's $5 a month. I mean, what the hell?
They started charging me a month ago, and I'm like, I think I've bought enough Apple products recently that I should get my full year.
You get it. I just extend it again.
I don't have my act together to pick up the phone and call Apple to say, hey, you're charging me, but I think I should get it for free. And then I just keep paying the $5 a month.
There you go. But yeah, I would say it is, again, he's attempting to do a show very similar in style to The Daily Show. But basically, he's only covering one subject per episode. And so this the first episode is dealing with a project that he's been working on for the last few years, is the veterans that are suffering the effects of the burn pits over in the Gulf. And how they are not being covered with benefits by the VA,
right?
And the work that he has been trying to do to help them get health coverage. I mean, there's cancers, lung issues, a number of different health issues that people that these veterans that had to live and sleep and breathe in all these toxins from these fire pits, and are not getting coverage by the VA or by this country.
That actually sounds very interesting. What is it, a 30-minute show?
I think it ran about 45, 50 minutes.
I will be checking that out. What was that, Ron? You wanted to know what I was watching?
I was about to say, what are you watching, Brian?
I finished the 3rd season of Sex Education on Netflix. It is the story of a high school in what could be England, but it could be America. It looks like America. It acts like America, but everybody has British accents.
Gotcha.
So it's like this quasi weird universe that's going on, where it takes place in a very sex positive school. All the kids are having sex. All the kids are having sex problems, but here they're learning to talk about it and to deal with the emotions as opposed to just pushing them down, just getting lower.
Back in.
Yeah. So I finished watching that. I've now moved on to Squid Game, which you hyped a week ago.
I did. Yep.
I am now getting into it. Once episode in, I've got 8 more or 7 more, whatnot.
8 more. 9-episode season.
I am definitely looking forward to it. They've grabbed my attention. I just watched Red Card, Green Card, or Green Card, Red Card.
Red light, green light.
Red light, green light. Close. No cigar. And I watched Red Light, Green Light. It is a interesting episode. I'm watching it right now, dubbed in American audio, not enjoying it, but I tried to do the Korean audio with the English subtitles and found that way too distracting. So I went back to the dubbed, and that's how I'm going to watch it.
The dubbing, and you get a little bit used to it, but it sounds like they use the same voice actors for different characters, but they don't, which is shocking. And it sounds like H. John Benjamin is dubbing the main character, but that's not the case. But whenever he talks, I'm like, am I watching Bob's Burgers here?
Oh, you were supposed to make an Archer reference.
Oh, my apologies. Am I watching Archer here?
I've never watched Bob's Burgers.
No, it's all right. I catch it every now and then. It's not.
I am a fan of Archer, even though I haven't watched it in years. Archer, I thought, was a great show.
All right. So we will, going back to sex education real quick, though. Gillian Anderson, ridiculously sexy or not into it?
She is absolutely sexy in the way in which she plays this maternal sexual being that looks like she's going to scold you and tell you that you've been a bad boy. Like in every scene, she has that vibe coming off of her.
And that's not enough to make it a solid show, or
it's not in there enough.
All right.
Not enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see what else. Oh, reports here showing that killings in the United States jumped nearly 30% last year. A growing number of
We did it, America.
Slayings, murder and manslaughter rose 29.4%, the largest one-year increase since the federal government began compiling national figures in the 1960s. Overall, violent crime rose 5.6%, property crimes fell 7.8%, and assaults increased 12%.
I feel like the Republicans are going to cling to this, and they're going to pin the blame on Joe Biden.
Okay.
And I think they're going to just kind of skip over the fact that this took place during the administration of Donald Trump.
And of course, because we're such a gun-heavy country, most of the killings in America are fueled by shootings. Guns accounted for 73% of homicides in 2019. That increased to 76% in 2020.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Overall crime still well below the historic highs they reached in the 1990s. And in many cities, including Washington, D.C., New York, and Chicago, the number of killings is still far below the record high totals from nearly 30 years ago.
Jesus. Well, we've got some work to do to be done. We're not done yet. We've got America's coming back, people. Mark my words.
But someone that is done, iconic rock star David Lee Roth has announced that he will be retiring after a 5-show run that he will be doing at the end of this year at House of Blues in Las Vegas. He is, as he said, he is throwing in the shoes. He is Bosdy Bop, his last bop. Brian, you gonna be all right?
Just a gigolo. Everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing.
Shib it up.
Pay for every dance. Selling cheap romance.
Oh.
Life goes on without me. Cause
So were you a David Lee Roth fan? Van Halen?
I was a David Lee Roth fan when he put out that one album, Yankee Rose.
Oh yeah.
And then I stopped being a David Lee Roth fan as I realized how schlocky he actually was. There were some good songs on that album. I liked him when he was in Van Halen, but Van Halen was a little before my time, so I always felt like I was like catching up with them. But yeah, I don't know that I would say if he came to my town to play, I would not go. If he came to my living room, I would ask if he could do an outdoor show.
If you had a choice, if you had to, gun to your head, go to see either David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, or Gary Sharon, who are you going to see?
Are we talking Van Halen with those guys singing, or are we talking about just seeing them individually?
All right, well, let's do it this way. Individually first, which would you choose?
Individually, I'm going to go David Lee Roth.
And with Van Halen, with one
Sammy
of those
Hagar.
three. Oh,
Sammy
interesting.
Hagar.
Very interesting.
Yes.
So you were not as much of a fan of the Red Rockers' solo career.
Red Rocker being Gary Sharon.
Sammy Hagar was his nickname. That's his nickname, the Red Rocker.
I didn't know who the fuck he was when he joined Van Halen. I knew he had that song. I can't drive 55. Like I was just like, it's a terrible song.
Now I remember. So if you remember years ago, probably going back now, probably 14, 15 years at least, when David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar toured together.
Sure.
I went to that show in Camden, New Jersey, and
they
apparently would flip a coin before each concert to determine who would open up and who would headline. And thankfully, the night that I went, David Lee Roth opened, so that way I could see him perform and then leave prior to Sammy Hagar coming out. Because I don't really know.
You have no interest in seeing Sammy Hagar.
I mean, yeah. I mean, apart from I Can't Drive 55, I don't know his songs. I appreciate his tequila, but music wise, I'm gonna watch David Lee Roth. Although he could not, and again, this was a long time ago, he could not hit the high notes still back then. That was very disappointing.
Of course not. There was no way he could.
All right, I think we touched on everything we wanted to hit this episode.
I'm looking at my notes right now. They've got everybody. We hit everything that I wanted to hit. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff saved to the Patreon that's coming up. Are we going to be doing the Coca-Cola 1.5 liter bottle challenge?
I forgot to get my Coca-Cola. I apologize.
So we're not going to be drinking a 1.5 bottle of Coca-Cola, but we do have some articles. The world's sexiest athlete, Michigan lottery winners. We have a woman who is boiling bear urine, and a woman who has heavenly orgasms and threesomes with her husband and God.
I mean, if that does not convince you to hop on your computer, to go to ronandbrianpodcast.com and join the Patreon so that you can be on the After Dark episode starting in a mere 22 minutes.
Sure.
I don't know what else. And obviously,
come join us, people. It's going to be fun.
Not only do that, but join us here in Pennsylvania on Friday, October 22nd for Dave Hill live in my backyard. $20 a person. Again, just reach out to us to secure a spot or go to the links in our bio on our Instagram page where you can buy tickets to the Dave Hill Show. And also you'll see a link there in case you want to get some of the next level hydrogen water with or without the Manny Pacquiao commemorative can. Get that sent right to your house. It is the cure for whatever ails you. Certainly is good as a hangover cure, as I can attest. Brian, anything additional before we wrap up this episode 175?
I love you, Ron.
Love you too, my friend. It was great seeing you this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you Thursday for the Zane Lamprey stand-up show. And for Patreon, we'll see you at the bottom of the hour. For everybody else, we will see you guys next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.